You train 6 days a week. You're hitting your protein. You're getting 8 hours in bed, even if half of it is doom scrolling. You take your creatine. You take your fish oil. You hit your steps. You do everything the algorithm told you to do. And somehow your physique looks exactly the same as it did 3 months ago. Same weight on the bar, same reflection in the mirror, same frustration when you flex, and the muscle just isn't responding the way it used to. You assume it's protein. You add another scoop. Nothing changes. You assume it's training. You add another session. It gets worse. And nobody, not your favorite fitness influencer, not the supplement company that emailed you twice this week, not the YouTube algorithm that keeps serving you 10 grams more protein videos, is going to tell you the actual reason, because the actual reason has nothing to sell. The reason is that your cortisol has been parked at catabolic levels for months, and every single thing you've added to your routine to fix the problem has been making it worse. Here's the part of cortisol nobody explains properly. It's not the villain it gets painted as. Your body needs cortisol. It's the hormone that wakes you up in the morning, mobilizes energy when you train, helps your body respond to stress in real time. Acute cortisol is essential. Without it, you'd be unconscious. The problem is chronic cortisol, the version that stays elevated all day, every day, week after week, because of the lifestyle most gym people are unknowingly living. And once cortisol enters that chronic state, it starts attacking your gains on four separate fronts simultaneously. Four. Most people are aware of maybe one of them. And even then, they don't really understand the mechanism. So let's actually break down what's happening inside your body right now while you sit there wondering why nothing is working. Cortisol's first attack is on muscle protein synthesis itself. It upregulates a protein called RED1, which directly inhibits mTOR, the master switch your body uses to build muscle. So even when you eat your perfect protein meal and the amino acids show up at the muscle cell ready to do their job, the signal that's supposed to fire isn't firing. The leucine is there. The signal is dead. Your second attack is muscle protein breakdown. Cortisol activates two enzymes called atrogen-1 and MuRF1, which tag your muscle proteins for destruction. MuRF1 has a specific target, myosin, the contractile protein your gains are literally made of. So while one front blocks new muscle from being built, the other front is actively breaking down the muscle you already have. The third attack is on myostatin. Research has shown that chronic cortisol elevation directly increases myostatin expression. Myostatin's entire job is to limit muscle growth. You are paying biology to slow you down. And the fourth attack is the one that ties this video into everything we've talked about in the protein series. Research published showed that even a few hours of elevated cortisol cuts the activity of an amino acid transporter called SNAT2 by 50%. That's the transporter that pulls amino acids from your bloodstream into your muscle cells. So the protein you ate, the digestion you optimized, the gut health you've been working on, none of it matters at the final checkpoint because cortisol has shut the door 50% of the way. This is why the people who lift the hardest, sleep the worst, and stress the most often have the most disappointing physiques, despite eating like absolute units. Their entire delivery system is being sabotaged by a hormone they don't know how to manage. So how does your cortisol end up chronically elevated in the first place? That's the part most fitness content gets completely wrong because it isn't one big stressor. It's stacks of small ones that gym culture has somehow normalized. The biggest contributor by a massive margin is sleep deprivation. Research has shown repeatedly that even 1 week of restricted sleep, 5 hours per night, which is genuinely normal for a lot of gym people, elevates evening cortisol by around 50% and cuts insulin sensitivity by 40%. That's after 1 week. Most people have been running on 6 or fewer hours for years. Your cortisol curve is supposed to peak in the morning to wake you up and then drop steadily through the day so you can rest. When you're chronically underslept, that curve flattens out. Cortisol stays elevated when it shouldn't be. Your body never enters its recovery state properly. And every single training session becomes another withdrawal from a recovery account that never gets refilled. The second contributor is overtraining, and this is where it gets genuinely embarrassing for gym culture. The most rigorous research on overtraining syndrome, the ARROS study series by Kadegiani and colleagues, found that overtrained athletes don't actually have permanently elevated cortisol. They have something worse. Their HPA axis becomes blunted, meaning the cortisol response to stress stops functioning properly, while their testosterone to estradiol ratio drops by 43%. That ratio shift is one of the most reliable markers of overtraining ever identified. The signal you should be paying attention to isn't how tired you feel, it's that your hormones have stopped responding normally. And the gym person grinding through this is usually the one adding more volume, because the assumption is always that not enough is being done. The actual problem is that too much is being done with too little recovery. The third contributor is the gut connection, which is where everything we've talked about in the previous series comes back. Chronic gut dysbiosis activates the HPA axis and raises baseline cortisol. Chronic cortisol disrupts gut barrier function and worsens dysbiosis. The two feed each other. Your bloated stomach from video 3, your dysbiotic microbiome from video 4, and your cortisol problem from this video are not separate issues. They are the same issue, expressed in 3 different systems. fix one and the others improve, ignore one and the others worsen. The fourth contributor is the most controversial one because the gym world doesn't want to hear it: caffeine. 200 milligrams of caffeine increases cortisol by about 30%. Most pre workouts are dosed at 300 milligrams or more. Most gym people are also drinking coffee in the morning, often 2 cups, often on an empty stomach. You are taking a substance that elevates cortisol, stacking it on top of your already elevated morning cortisol, and then training in that state daily. Caffeine isn't evil, caffeine works. But you don't need 600 milligrams a day, and you definitely don't need it within 3 hours of training if your cortisol is already chronically elevated. So, what does fixing this actually look like in practice? Sleep is the single highest leverage intervention, and most gym people would see better gains from 1 extra hour of sleep than from another scoop of protein. Pull back training volume if you're showing signs of overreaching: bad sleep, declining strength, persistent fatigue, irritability, low libido. The body is trying to tell you something.